If you've ever felt frustrated with how long something is taking, whether it's a project, a dream, or even a version of yourself, it helps to remember that the creative process can't be rushed. I think a lot about the creative process and how it's so easy for us to want to rush through, to get to the end, to get to that final project, but it can't be rushed. I see this time and time again, especially with some of the people that I get to talk to on my podcast, whether they are writing a book or starting a business or launching something new. It takes time to get there. It doesn't matter what your field is or what kind of project you're working on. All of it takes time. It takes time for a writer to come up with an idea, write the story, and eventually have a book worth publishing, probably after multiple drafts. It takes practice for an entrepreneur to come up with an idea, to execute it, to probably miss the mark a couple times and readjust and try again. That's why so many successful entrepreneurs started more than one business before they found the one that worked. And it takes time for you to build a life you love and become the best version of yourself, knowing there's always room to grow. In a culture that constantly pushes speed and busyness, it's tempting to try to skip the messy middle. We want results fast, but that's not how growth works. I was reminded of this recently while I was looking through some of my old poems. Some I remember loving so much when I wrote them, and now I look at them and I cringe. And that actually makes sense because while I am the same person who wrote them, I'm also not. I've grown. I'm currently reading this book, Refused to be Done by Matt Bell. If you are a writer or you want to be a writer, I highly recommend it. It's all about the writing process and what it takes to make great work. One idea I keep thinking about is that good work isn't rushed, it's returned to. I love this idea that we return to our work. We get something out into the world, and then we are able to go back to it, to revise it, to make it better, all because we are continuing to grow. But we have to go back to the work. One of the things I love about books like this is they remind us that meaningful work takes time, effort, and patience. We have to allow the work to reveal itself in its own way. Writers often talk about how their characters are developed through the act of writing. They get to know what their characters will and won't do while the story unfolds. Some writers don't even know the ending until they're close to finishing the book. Ideas have to get out onto the page first. We can't fix a page that's never been written. We can't find a solution to a challenge we're going through in our lives if we're not willing to take the first step. But so often we're afraid to even start. Or we want that first draft of our work, our ideas, or our lives to be flawless. We strive for perfection, knowing it doesn't actually exist. That's where we get stuck. Instead of fighting the creative process or looking for shortcuts, the real work is getting comfortable in the messy middle. It's being okay having a terrible first draft sitting in your computer, waiting for you to come back to it with all its imperfections and messiness until you're ready to turn it into something beautiful. Not perfect, beautiful. The best you can create with the skills you have right now. So let's embrace the creative process, trusting that growth takes time and that continuing to return to the work is how you create what only you can create. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it inspires you to believe in your ideas, to keep showing up, to keep putting in the work. Until next time, go create something.